is someone you want to listen to. And the value, his knowledge, his expertise, and the people he's connected with and what he does for people when he works with them is phenomenal. So can we give him a huge, massive round of applause?
Cool. Good night. I hope I don't fuck up. Right? Isn't that what she said? I don't know. You know, honestly, I hate mics, so can you guys hear me like this? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just give that right back to you. Awesome. So let me just, by show of hands here, how many are interested to become a professional speaker here? Okay. How many can see themselves on a stage with a large audience? Okay. People that will connect with you and resonate with the information that you have. Like, have you got something valuable, is what I'm saying. Okay. How many here have a way to monetize that so that it can change your life? Okay, so not so many there. We're going to talk about that tonight. Okay? How many here also would like to get on more stages? Okay? Now, I do want to share one thing up front. There's a difference between more speaking gigs and profitable speaking gigs. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Now, again, I can only share with you my experience, and they've only given me 30 minutes. So we're going to be talking fast, like what we just talked about here. And I really hope, like my whole desire tonight is to be as valuable with you as I can. And I really hope for some of us, we're going to continue the relationship so I can help you achieve the things that you want to achieve. Would that be fair to do that? Just say this is the beginning of a conversation tonight? Cool, so it'll give you a chance to get to know me to get to know you, and then we're going to see where it goes from there, hey? Sounds cool? By the way, I'm Canadian, so you hear that A and hey. Oh, you'll hear that come out. Okay? I apologize about that. Okay? Now, let me just ask a couple quick questions here for you guys. What do you think the fastest way to make money in the speaking business is? Just shout it out if you've got an idea.
Lie.
There are those people out there, though, right? Oh my gosh, they make my job so much harder. Right? Okay? So let's get another answer. That's a good answer. Don't do that. That's a bad example. What do they say? Nice guys finish last, but at least they get to finish, right? Because those rascals who lie, they never come back for round 2, right? So don't do that, right? Very important. Okay, so how do you make money in the speaking business, guys?
Good story.
Good story. Okay, great. Add value. Getting attention.
Be an expert.
Be an expert.
Charisma.
Connect. Okay, these are all great answers. I'm just going to share with you one simple one. What you do, of course, my power isn't working here. What you do is simply take Bob Proctor to the casino with you. That's the easiest way to make a lot of money in the speaking business. Now, you know that I'm kidding. I want to share with you my journey. I've made a lot of money in the speaking business, but I don't share any of this. You've heard the trite phrase, to impress you, but to impress upon you. That's bullshit. That's not why I'm saying it. Why I'm sharing it is because, quite frankly, if you want to learn to do what I've done, you need to follow somebody who's done it, right? Yeah. What is it that Confucius said? He said there's 3 ways to learn wisdom. You can reflect on it. Reflection's one way to learn wisdom. The problem with reflection, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm in the shower every once in a while, I have a good idea, right? But the problem is if you've never made more than 400,000 pounds in your business in your life, I don't care how good the idea is that you haven't yet got the systems to figure out how to monetize it in such a way. So reflection has a limit, right? The next way that Confucius said we learn wisdom is through experience, the school of hard knocks, right? Well, how many have read the book by Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers? Anybody familiar with that? How many hours does he say it takes to become an expert? 10,000. So if you're focusing on experience, I don't know about you, but I'd rather be a millionaire while I can, enjoy it rather than a millionaire that's kind of like gonna, you know what I mean? Let's try and get this done fast. If we really are going to become a top speaker and get to the top of our game, why are we waiting? There's no reason to. So experience, we can't rely on that all by itself. But the last way that Confucius said we learn wisdom is, in my opinion, the most powerful. And he says that's to imitate. You find someone who's doing it and you imitate. I'm going to add one more thing to that. That's that you also innovate and you make it personalized. Because you can't be successful if you're going to be a carbon copy of somebody else out there. How many people in the world have we seen before that are trying to be Tony Robbins? Or how many people have we seen that have seen the movie The Secret? By the way, who's seen the movie The Secret? Okay, and all of a sudden, did you know there was a massive explosion of people that were now law of attraction coaches? That was the first time they ever heard of it, right? So you can't be a carbon copy. You can imitate, But you do not be a carbon copy. You innovate. You be personal. You be authentic, right? It's got to be you. In fact, that reminds me of a little story, and I apologize for these ADD segues. I've got ADD HD, which is ADD in high definition, right? Okay? So anyways, one of my first speaking events that I ever did, I had done a little bit of Toastmasters. I don't know if anybody here has done that, but they told me, okay, don't put your hands in your pocket. You're going to see me do that a lot. They're going to say, don't chew gum while you're on stage. I have done that. I also sometimes take a bottle of Coke up there. I'm from North America, guys. Right? Okay? And they also have this idea that if you're going to deliver an emotional story, stand at the front and talk as though you are William Shatner. Right? You get what I'm saying? So here I am at my first speaking event, and I'm in the corner, and I'm practicing. No hands in pocket. Don't sound like this. Do that. And one of the speakers across the way looks at me, and he's like, "What the heck is that guy doing?" And so he kind of came over and he said, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just practicing my speech." And he's like, "Can I give you a little hint?" And this is good wisdom for you guys too. He says, if you speak from here, it will go into here. Authenticity is important, right? So you got to be who you really are. So how did I get started in this crazy journey? Again, this is my journey. Some of the things I learned I hope will be helpful for you. I had no idea I was going to be a speaker. No one came up to me in middle school or high school and said, you're going to be a speaker. Get ready. Nobody thought of that, right? But I did take a job one summer selling pest control door-to-door in California. Has anybody here done door-to-door sales before? It's really fun most of the time. Now add on top of that I'm selling pest control, telling people you've got bugs. Who wants to hear that? Right? In fact, I learned very quickly, I used to say, you've got insects, and your neighbors have insects too. And all of a sudden they got the word confused, said incest. So I was like, no, bugs. Anyways, it was estimated I knocked on more than 22,000 doors one summer. That's a lot of doors. And as what happens to door-to-door salesmen, occasionally you get discouraged. And one day I was discouraged, and a friend of mine took me aside and said, here's some books that you should read that will help you to really dial into your power. One of them happened to be Think and Grow Rich. Anybody heard of the book before? So here's the cool thing. I read that book. I was totally blown away. Napoleon Hill had gone out and done interviews with more than 400 of the world's top achievers in his day. People like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, the Rockefellers, the Wrigleys, and the list went on. Now, of course, when I read the book, I was totally inspired. I started to believe in myself and believe anything was possible. Who here believes anything is possible? It is, okay? And here's the deal. You don't have to step out of your comfort zone to do it. You got to step into your brilliance zone. Find out who you really are and tap into that, right? But here's the other thing with that story for me. When I read Think and Grow Rich, I said, well, if he can have friends in high places, why not me? So I went out and I started to interview the world's top achievers wherever I could find them. Now, to make a long story short, I've interviewed people like Sir Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, Donald Trump. Okay, we won't talk about him too much tonight. People like Howard Putnam, the former CEO of Southwest Airlines. Frank McGuire, who actually became like a grandpa to me, was one of the 4 founders of Federal Express, former VP of marketing for all of KFC and American Airlines. Marilyn Tam, who was the former CEO of Nike, Reebok, the Avita Group. Bill Farley, who was the former owner of Fruit of the Loom, Christian Dior, Jordache Jeans, Gitano Sportswear, California Citrus, and the list went on. And as I met these people, by the way, there's one thing, somebody asked me earlier, how do you get past the gatekeeper to get to these people? Well, can I tell you? It's at the end of every interview, ask this question, who else do you know that I should talk to? And get yourself a damn introduction, right? Okay, so I began to interview these people. Now, interestingly enough, they started to teach me about business. And I was actually still not thinking about becoming a speaker. But when you interview people like that, others want to know what they had to say. So I started getting invited to come out and speak. Now, here's the thing that probably happened to you that happened to me. I kind of liked it. It was fun. Who likes speaking up here? Who feels that you're a big-time service when you're up here? Who feels like, you know, and let's be honest, there's some rock star feelings up here sometimes, right? It feels good to be up here. And so I decided this is the business I want to do. Now, here's the good news, folks. I didn't know any speakers. Why is it good news? Because most speakers are broke, right? So I couldn't go to any speakers and say, how do you build a speaking business, right? How do you get out there and build a speaking business? I couldn't do that because I didn't know any. So what I did is I turned to my top achievers, people like Frank McGuire, one of the founders of FedEx, and I said, how would you build a speaking business? And in my first 6 months as a 19, almost 20-year-old, I did $1.6 million in my first 6 months. Not only is that, for me, a life change, because I don't come from a wealthy family, but not even Tony Robbins has done that, because he was a trainer for Jim Rohn. So some of the stuff I'm about to share you is quite significant. So let me share with you some results. Yeah, I'll get you in advance. Okay, so $1.6 million in 6 months. Okay, let's go to the next one here. The strategies that I learned from these people that I'm going to share a little bit with you tonight also got me an audience of 17,000 people. That's my biggest audience to date. Now, I'm not sharing that to say, wow, Doug. What I'm sharing that is, let's pause for a minute. How many like an audience of 17,000 people? Why haven't you got it now? And the question is what would you do with it if you got it? Yeah. Okay? Do you have something of service or of value that you can offer those people? Do you have a way that it can become transactional so that there's a fair exchange of value, meaning that for your effort, because I know all of you guys right now, you spent time learning your content, developing your speeches, maybe even developing programs, maybe some of you even have a book or a product. You've spent lots of time in that and effort, and you've got a lot of value to share. So how are you creating a fair exchange of value? Now here's another question. How many have something to sell tonight? If you were given this audience right now, 17,000 people, okay. Now, with that product, you know what it is that you've got in mind, right? What if you even close, let's say, 10% of those people? Or let's even say 1% of those people. What would that look like for you, right? Now, here's one stat that I'm going to share with you. It's scary, but do you know that right now 1 in 450 people who want to be speakers actually even get to do this full time? It's a hard business to make money in, right? So you got to have a system that can help you do that. So again, how many want an audience of 17,000 people? Okay, and if you're not quite there yet, it's not too late to get ready. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so one of the things that I'm known for as well, my background actually in school was not speaking. It was film and television production, film production and screenwriting. And so when the movie The Secret came out, again, who's seen the movie The Secret? I decided if this is the way the industry is going, it's time for me to make a movie. So I decided to make a movie called The Opus. By the way, that's my son. He's for sale if anyone's interested. Okay? But Random House picked this movie up, and they translated it into more than 23 languages worldwide. In the movie, we've got people like Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, Joe Vitale, Morris Goodman, Bob Doyle, John DeMartini, Marcy Shimoff. Also people like Bill Bartman, who started on welfare, became one of the wealthiest people in the United States. In fact, I think number 25 was featured on the cover of Forbes. This movie actually has opened up massive doors for me. How many here are using media in their speaking business, even if it's social media? You've got to be doing that. This has been a game changer for me. I went from a speaker who, again, I did $1.6 million, but I was still doing events for almost free or dirt cheap, to one event where I was paid $50,000 for 1 hour and shared the stage with Deepak Chopra and Chris Gardner from Pursuit of Happiness. You've got to bring media into your business, okay? Now, by the way, this film, it talks about how to go from a vision of what you want to the plan to the performance. Who wants a copy? Boy, you were quick. Now we know how the game works, right? Okay? So when I was out there interviewing the 400 top achievers, what I found, again, is that there were some principles that are not yet always seen in the success books that are out there. And so I decided to make another movie. Let's go to the next one here. Like I said, you know how the game works, right? I did a movie called The Gratitude Experiment. I discovered that gratitude is probably the most powerful force in the entire universe. And when you can bring gratitude, especially into your business. In fact, one of the great books that I love, it's called The Thank You Economy by Gary Vaynerchuk. If you are not understanding those principles in today's marketplace, you're going to have a really hard time creating success for your business. I don't care if you're speaking or if you're working at McDonald's. You're going to have a hard time without that principle of gratitude and the ability to do it right. Most people think gratitude is, sending thank you cards or a gift basket every once in a while, or, I feel grateful for what's going on in my life. It's not. There's so much more, right? In this film, we had Bob Proctor, Marie Diamond from The Secret, John Gray, who did Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, Kids Are from Hell, right? Parents totally understand that one. But who wants a copy of this? You had your hand up really quick here, too. It's time for a sip of Coke. So I found the movies really made a difference for me. And by the way, one of the things that happened once I started doing the movies is I started getting invited to do radio and TV appearances. How many are doing those currently in their speaking business? How many would like to? Here's the deal. When you're speaking on a stage, it is one to many, but when you're speaking on the media, it's often one to millions. right? In fact, my last CNN appearance, they estimated that we're close to 40 million people tuned in. Think about that to get your message out. Now, that doesn't mean they're all going to be customers, but they all now know who you are, right? Okay, so the last movie that we did, I'll just give this one away and then we'll get going. It's called The Treasure Map on Abundance. You had your hand up. In this one here, we had folks like Laurel Langmeyer, Raymond Aaron, John DeMartini, Marshall Silver, and that gang. So really fun making these films. I've now decided, look, it's going to flow over. I've now decided I'm going to do a film probably about every 2 years, and I've got a major distributor in Hollywood that's interested in those films. The reason I mention that is I'm looking for speakers. If your heart just went, then you need to talk with me, okay? And we'll talk a little later about that. So you got to get out there and really understand how the business works. It's not just a matter of having a speech and getting up here and sharing it. You've got to create your brand. You've got to create who you are in the marketplace. You've got to, as you saw some of the names in there, start associating with people that can help you build their brand. You know, it's interesting, when we put out that first movie, The Opus, just the speakers on that film, people like, again, Joe Vitale and Jack Canfield and that, we recognized we had a combined database of 39 million people. And they all of a sudden became aware of who I was because we're doing this big joint venture to promote the movie, right? So think about that. Okay, let's go to the next one. I got invited to start speaking in media, as I mentioned. Right now I do more media appearances than any other speaker in the business. Even Tony Robbins. He used to do a lot of media. He doesn't do as much anymore. I actually have a regular radio show on Sirius XM satellite radio, and I'm a featured regular on Fox, Fox Business, CNN, NBC, ABC, CTV, and a few others. And soon to be the BBC. We're working on a deal right now, so I'll be doing more here. Now again, I don't share this to go, oh wow, Doug, he's been on TV, this is neat. The question again, how many would like to have this for their business? I can show you how, okay? Because there is a formula for getting producers to say, oh goody, let's book this person. They need stories. They need people who can provide value, people that are articulate, people that have things that you know that they can follow up with and send them to, right? By the way, one little tip that I'll share with you right now, if you've got a tricky name, like I've got a tricky last name, I went out and I registered the domain DougSentMe.com just so I could share it on media, so people could remember, right? So if your name sent you is available, I'd snatch it up. Like, again, DougSentMe.com, that's my domain. So what's your first name?
Latizile.
Say that again?
Latizile.
Latizile. Okay, I had to find something easier. But, right, that you can share from media. Because, again, who can spell that right now? Well, get out your pen, right? There's a prize if you can do it. But if you could say, let's call her Laddie. Let's say LaddieSentMe.com. People will remember that, and they will find you through media. So it's just a little tip that's worked really well for me. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so in addition to doing media, one of the things that you're going to want, you remember you're only as strong as those who are talking about you. It's for me. Hi, Mom. In London today. And here we've got some people from The Secret who are actually endorsing me. Now, again, I don't share this for you to go, oh, wow, you know, look at who he's got endorsing him. Why I do it is, how would it feel now if it was your name in there? That you were the one that they were endorsing, right? Would that be useful for you? Could you use that on a book cover, for example? Could you use that to get into speaking events? Do you think that, you know, people recognize their names and that would open up a door if they saw that name on there? Okay, let's go to the next one quick because I just want to tell you about something really quick. Here's one of my best friends, John DeMartini. We're coming back in London, John and I doing an event on September 22nd. Who wants to come? And I'll talk a little bit later how you can do that. Okay? I'm telling you, if you've never heard him speak, he is incredible. Have you heard him speak? Yeah, okay, so we're talking about somebody awesome. Now, I'm going to plant a seed in your brain, though. You don't just want to go and hear him speak. How do you think I built these relationships? I met them at their events. I got to know them. I got on their radar. I made myself available to offer value to them. And they could see how a relationship with me would make sense. So therefore, they either entered my movies or do events with me, whatever. So for those of you that are coming, you've got until September to think up some really cool things to share with him and some of the other speakers I'm bringing to start doing business with you. How many could find value in that? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's carry on. Okay. This is one of my favorite things to do, and I'm going to share with you guys a little bit how to do this too. How many like to be on a magazine cover? Okay. How many here, let me just put it in contrast, have a family member that really doesn't understand what you do for a job? Okay? Even worse, when they try to explain it to somebody else, right? Like my mom is the best. Anytime she's trying to explain it, she's like, well, he talks to people about stuff. About what stuff? Well, I don't know, stuff. Right? So how many have a mother like that that's supportive, but she can't explain it? And how many have a dad like mine who still thinks that you're a loser? Yeah. You know what's funny? I'll never forget, I shared the stage with Bill Bartman, who, like I said, went from like welfare to the 25th wealthiest man in the world. I had just made my first million, and I invited my mom and dad to come and hear us speak. This is a guy on the Forbes like 100 list, right? And so after the event, I introduced my dad to him, and my dad says to this guy and me, yeah, well, you guys are pretty good at this, but can you make any money doing this? My dad says that to the 25th wealthiest guy in the United States. Okay, so here's where the magazine covers come in handy, okay? How do you think people like that feel when you can pass them a magazine? Here you go, Dad, I'm on the cover, right? Is there anybody that you want to hand a magazine to right now? Okay, anybody that needs to see you on the front of it? Yeah, there's a lot of credibility that's there. And as you can imagine, if you want to find profitable speaking gigs and it's between you and other speakers, all this stuff combined starts to add up. If there's 5 other speakers that are looking for an opportunity on a stage, and you can say, here I am on television, here I am on radio, this is me in these movies, this is me on the magazine cover, who do you think gets the gig? Yeah. So this stuff becomes really valuable. Does that make sense to have this stuff, guys? Yeah. Now, I want to share one other thing that's kind of funny for me. Let's go to the next one. If you do it once, do it twice. Keep going, right? I've done lots of magazine covers. This is one of my favorite ones, though. As you'll notice on the cover, some of my success interviews are there. People that, I did the success interviews. Here's Bob Proctor. There's Mark Cuban. You guys know Mark Cuban over here, right? No. No? Okay, so multi-billionaire in the United States. Owns all kinds of stuff. Brian Tracy and John DeMartini. So here's the deal. I'm big. They're little. So I made sure they each got a copy of the magazine. And you know what? Only one of them wrote me back and said, whatever. Okay? That's okay with me, right? You're as guilty as the people that you hang out with. And I'm going to encourage you, if you're going to really be serious about building a speaking business, there's speaking, which is the part up here. There's business, which is the other part that most people miss. And here's the deal, folks, and you might want to write this down. If you don't make a profit, you don't get the privilege to continue. It's that simple in real life. That's just the way that it goes. So let's just continue the next one. One of my favorite things about elevating myself as a speaker is, again, the people that you're going to meet and spend time with. Does anybody know who this lady is? No. It's my wife. But in all seriousness, as you begin to grow as a speaker, your credibility will begin to open doors for you where you can share the stage with some pretty amazing people. I don't know about you guys, this is one of my heroes, Oprah Winfrey, but I've got a lot of heroes I've had a chance to meet. And maybe in your heart and in your mind, you can think of some speakers or people that you'd like to spend time with on the stage, people in real life you'd like to meet. And not only meet, but get the opportunity to maybe even do a deal with, right? To do something with them in real time, okay? Now, I'm going to shift gears for a minute here, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I learned from those top achievers, what they taught me about growing my speaking business. And then I'd like to share, again, how we can continue this relationship if that's something that you feel you'd like to do. Now, here's the one thing I am going to tell you, just, what I have experienced. There are speakers who are really, really good, but they're invisible because they don't understand the speaking business. And I'm also going to tell you there's speakers who are really not so good, but they understand the business and they know how to market, and they are very visible. You guys know what I'm talking about? There's some people where you're sitting in the audience and you're like, how the hell did they get up there? And you're also in your heart thinking, well, they shut him up and put me up, and I'll teach these people something because this ain't working, right? Okay? So I'm going to tell you that it really comes down to the business systems that you have in place. The speaking is perfect or important. You got to have that figured out. If you haven't got that figured out, you really are going to be at a disadvantage. But if you're a good speaker and you now have that married to a system that works, now you're really in business. So I've got 10 minutes left. So 10 minutes to share everything I absolutely know. Maybe the best way to explain it is this Saturday I'm going to be at the Marriott at Canary Wharf. I'm doing a full day training where I'm going into 12 modules that talk about building a speaking business. Those 12 modules, first of all, start with creating powerful content that resonates with your audience. Content is the foundation of everything. If you're not sure what to speak about or what to share, this is something that you need. I find that most speakers either share way too much content or not enough, or they don't share the right stuff. And so their audience is kind of like, oh yeah, he sounds smart, great, and then they leave, right? The next module talks about how to create the perfect products and workshops so that they almost sell themselves, right? Now, I'll whiz through some of the others just for sake of time, but we're going to talk about speaking business models. What are the right models for you today? Because the truth of the matter is most people aren't aware that there's more than 250 models for the speaking business in today's marketplace. Most people think it's, I speak for a fee, or I show up and sell something. Those are 2 out of 250, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how you build an appropriate sales funnel. Now, I'm not talking about an online sales funnel. That's different. What I'm talking about is knowing where you're going to take your customers. There's some speakers, you felt it, they come into a room and they say, let's see, I paid X for my travel, X for my accommodations, I got to sell X amount of people at 2,000 pounds, let's go. And you feel like there's a bounty immediately placed on you. That may have worked in the 80s. It does not work today. So do you have a funnel that brings people in, that builds relationship? That's what you want. In fact, with my students, I actually expect and look for a minimum of a 5-year relationship with every one of them. And if you join me, I'm looking for something long-term with you too. I don't want to just give you a weekend workshop and say, hit the road, good luck, and get back to me if you're successful. I'll use these as a testimonial. No! I want you to be a success, and I'm going to be there to make sure it happens, right? Some of the other things that we talk about, my goodness, one of the biggest challenges that most speakers have is selling from the stage, right? Sometimes they feel like they've got to be pitchy, or they've got to run to the back of the room. You've got 5 seconds, and 3 of you will make it. And if you hit someone on the way through it, bam, good luck, you did it. And I'm trying to create a sense of community, and I'm a loving thought leader. That doesn't work, guys, right? Plus, most people can tell if you're not authentic selling that way, right? If that's not who you are, it won't work, you know? I'll also be talking this weekend about how to joint venture with speakers. How did I get to joint venture with some of the biggest names in the business? I'm going to unfold to you my secrets. I'm going to show you how I do it. I've got actually even a checklist to make sure that those relationships grow and you guys keep doing bigger and bigger and bigger and better things, right? How many like a checklist like that? How many would also like to meet some of these guys and be ready to pitch them in a way that they're going to say, yeah, this makes sense to my business, right? Yeah, so I'm going to share that. I'm also going to talk about how to find profitable speaking gigs. There are 5 kinds of speaking gigs in the marketplace today. There's only 5 kinds. Most speakers, like I said, are aware of 1 or 2, and then they host their own events too. Well, how do you like to have events hosted for you? You just got to show up like this, right? Right? All I brought was my little bag and a Coke. Easy, right? Okay? I prefer that rather than me renting a facility and paying for staff and all these things. I'm going to show you how to do that in a proper way. Now, where we're really going to spend a lot of time, and this is some of my favorite stuff, is we're going to talk a lot about how to use social media correctly. Here's the problem. We see so many pictures right now on Facebook of people standing next to their Ferrari. I've got mine too, but I don't post pictures of it. Most of the time, Ty Lopez, it's a rented vehicle, right? It's not his. You guys have that dude out here? You guys know who I'm talking about? Okay. So these ego pictures are totally bullcrap. That's not who you want to be. The other thing we see is so many people, oh man, I had to, one of my students the other day, she posted a picture of herself jumping like this with a Tony Robbins quote. Well, whose brand are you building? Toyota and Tony Robbins, right? So here's the deal. If you're going to use social media, what are you guys? You're teachers, right? That means you should be teaching. So how are you going to do it in an engaging way to get people to respond? Here's something interesting. One of my brands that I do, I teach sales training, and I'll be doing a little of that on Saturday as well. It's called Learn to Sell or Die. We started the group, if you go on to it, about, 3 weeks ago? First day, there was like 5 members. We're already now up to almost 2,000 members, okay? So how do you grow virally like that? And we're not even done yet. I got a book deal out of it already too, right? So how do you use social media? And then the last thing I'm going to be talking about, which I think is really important, it's that celebritize yourself through the use of media. Not just social media. Now I'm talking radio interviews, television appearances, whatever it could be that you're going to do, okay? Now, I've got something special I'm going to do. Like I said, this weekend I'm going to be at the Canary Wharf Marriott. Now, I apologize. I'm not a Guy who understands the geography. I don't know how far that is away from here. I don't know. But what I am going to tell you is that you need to be there. You need to be there. And I'm going to make it so easy. First thing I'm going to do for you guys is that ticket for the John DeMartini event on September 22nd. Those go for $497. I'm going to just give you one for coming. And for those of you that come on Saturday to spend a whole day with me learning this, I'm going to make it real simple. We're going to do it for £47. That's a whole day with me, okay? So here's the deal. I've got some additional gifts that I'm going to give you guys too for today. This one, we'll give them to you at the back. They're an audio CD of Secrets of High Profit Speakers. Okay, so I want to share this with you. My bottom line is if this resonates with you, I'm not a hard seller. If it doesn't resonate with you, I don't want you, because I run a business, not a babysitting service. And I'm dead serious about that. If it doesn't resonate with you, if you don't like me, if you don't think I can help you, see ya. I wish you the best and all the success in the world. But if you do like me and you think there's something I can teach you, if I can take your business to the next level. Again, I did 1.6 in 6 months, folks. I know a few things about making money in the speaking business. If you feel like you're ready to learn that kind of stuff, if you're ready to get your message out to bigger audiences, if you're ready to get on television, like we said, and build social media and build brand equity, this is a dang competitive marketplace. And I'm also here to tell you that if you're not prepared to step up, I'm going to also invite you to get out of the way, because there are people here today that I know that are ready to put in the work. Who's here ready to put in the work? Okay, and I know some people, it's kind of interesting. Their hand kind of goes, yeah. Other people have their hand up. So, you know what? I'm going to just tell you this. This is not an easy business. It looks easy on the outside. And if you're not prepared to do the work, I'm going to invite you to get out of the way. I'm going to finish with just one quick little story about, I believe it's so important. Those that are ready to do this, those that have a valuable message, the world needs you. We need your brilliance. I was at an event not too long ago, and this lady came up and she says, I'd like to be a life coach. I said, oh, tell me a little bit about your life. Why you want to be a life coach? She goes, well, I've been through a lot. Well, what have you been through? Well, technically, I'm still going through it. Well, what are you going through? Well, I'm right now receiving welfare. I'm trying to get over an addiction challenge. My daughter won't talk to me. I'm on my 4th divorce. We're just doing it right now. And she just went on and on and on and on about, you're going to be a life coach? Okay, so what are you going to create? Here's the deal. I love martial arts. For those of you who don't know, I actually do competitive mixed martial arts. But one of the things one of my teachers told me one time, he says, if you ever want to beat someone, look at how they're trained, because a student is always a reflection of their master. A student is always a reflection of their master. So I'm here to tell you that if you are, I'm going to call it like it is, a bullshit speaker that is fooling yourself that you're not ready to be here, I'm going to tell you, get the hell out of the way. But maybe I'm sounding harsh. I want to come back now to heart-centered. If you know that this is you, and I'm keeping it real, I'm keeping it real. If this is you, and you feel it in your heart that you genuinely have something to say and something to serve and people to lift and lives to bless and people that are going to change. Oh man, I know I'm out of time, but I got one cool story I just got to tell. It says 1 minute. You can change massive lives and you'll never ever see the difference of this. Get this, I went to an event in Antwerp, Belgium one time, and this guy came up to me with his son in his arms. He goes, we got to tell you a story. He said, I heard you speak about 3 years ago when I bought some CDs from you and all this kind of stuff. And I went home. And my son, here, maybe I'll let him tell the story. And so we got him to start talking. He says, well, I had massive trouble with drugs as a teenager. I quit school when I was about 14, and I stayed at home and I played video games. When I was 16, I got this girl pregnant. By the time I was 17, she wanted nothing to do with me because I was physical with her. And they cut me off from the baby, and I couldn't see, this kid. And so I stayed at home, continued the drugs, continued to, play the video games. I was going into a state of depression. I was spiraling down, 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 down. And my dad every day would say, you got to listen to this Tony Robbins guy. You got to listen to Jim Rohn. You got to listen to Zig Ziglar. They'll help your life get all sorted out. And this kid was basically, leave me alone. I'm on my Xbox and really bitter. Well, one day his dad pushed a little too hard and said, when are you going to change your life and start getting on this motivational stuff and recognizing that you don't have to live like this? So anyways, the kid made a plan that as his dad left the door, today's the day I'm going to kill myself. And then he'll see what it's all about. And I'm going to do it even a little bit more interesting. I'm going to take my Sony Discman. I'm going to put one of these motivational yahoos in it, and I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to shoot myself while listening to it. Well, interestingly enough, I used to have kind of a boy band haircut with a little bit of that, lovely dye in it and all that stuff. And he says, I picked your CD because you look like you were a smug mother. That's what he said. I'm like, oh, so I'm standing here? Thank you. Appreciate that. Right? He says, so I put it into the CD thing. And I began to listen to it. And I went and I got my dad's revolver. And I took it and I put it in my mouth. And I hit the play button. And the first thing was, is you said something really funny. I can't even remember what it was. He says, I laughed, but the problem was, is the gun barrel went against the roof of my mouth. He's like, I hated you for that. So he put the gun back and kept listening, and I made him laugh again. And something else I said seemed to make sense. And he says, then I decided, you said something I need to write down. So I put the gun down. Was the guy going to kill himself and he's got to write stuff down? I think we're making progress, right? So he says, I got to write that down. Then he said something else. I went to pick up the gun and it just got heavier and heavier, and all of a sudden I set it down, and when your CD finished, I said, this is pretty cool. Maybe I can change my life. And I put in another one, and I put in another one, and I kept listening all day. He says, and when my dad came home from work, I had listened through a stack of his CDs. And when my dad came in the door, he said to me, he said, Dad, it's time for me to go to rehab. I need some help. I can't do this on my own. And so he went to a program where they helped him because of these people just like you that had motivated him that he could change his life. And when he went there, they taught him some strategies of how life could be. So he, again, got rid of the addiction. But what's even cooler, he went and found the girl that he had hurt so much and said, I don't expect you to take me back, but I want you to know I'm sorry. And it was wrong. And I own it. And that little girl of ours, I know you're not expecting me to be the daddy full time, but I would like to be in her life. And I would like to be a good example in her life. And so slowly but surely, she began to see what this young man had decided to do. And he kept his word. And little by little, they formed a relationship and they got married. And they have 3 kids now. And the story gets really interesting because he decided his love for video games. You see, I told him, don't focus outside of your comfort zone. Get in your brilliance zone, right? The stuff that you are dialed into. Well, now he designs video games. And he's one of the top video game designers in Belgium. And I'm talking 7 figures and above. So here's the thing. Before you decide whether this is for you to be a speaker or not, let's do this from a non-selfish point of view as well. There are people out there that you're going to touch. I had no idea. I didn't see that coming. There are people that you are going to lift them and change their life. So I'm going to tell you, if you resonate with me, I'd love to continue the journey with you. I'm excited about the brilliance I see in the world. This is an amazing time to be a speaker. And I know I was kind of trying to discourage those that aren't really ready, but those of you that are ready, we need you. We want you. Our arms are ready to receive you. And if you are here to serve, there's room for you on my stages. Okay? So I'm going to finish with that. Like I said, I think there's a quick break. If you want to join me on Saturday, like I said, 47 pounds, come visit us. We'll make sure you get set up. I'm going to spend the whole day with you guys, and you ain't seen nothing yet. So if you resonate, come and join us. It's been great being with you. And again, be brilliant. Just be brilliant, right?